We have a very special word of testimony this morning. This morning we're going to hear from Coach Bobby Purvis. Bobby and his wife Cheryl, their son Robbie, joined our church several months back. And Coach Purvis has given me the opportunity before a couple of times to come speak to the FCA and to the football players and sort of rally them on game day and talk to them about things that really matter before game day. And we're glad that Coach Purvis could be with us today, and we're going to ask him now to come now, brother, and share what the Lord has done and is doing in your life, Coach. God bless you.
Thank you, Brother Randy. I'd like to stand here just for a second and get a grasp of this, because I pictured this all week, but in your mind it doesn't look the same as when you're standing here. Last week, Billy Harlan came walking up to me last Sunday night, and he said it's Baptist Men's Day next Sunday. And you know how things can run through your mind a whole lot faster than you can talk. And I thought, he's going to ask me to sing in the choir. I'll probably do that because there'll be about 40 more men up there, and I can kind of blend in and hide. And Brother Billy, right now I'm having trouble hiding. I'd like to speak a minute, not necessarily about my testimony, not necessarily leading up to the time that I was saved. I was saved when I was 12 years old. I've heard outstanding testimonies in my life of people that were alcoholic, that were drug addicted, people that had served time in prison for various reasons. And they're outstanding testimonies. I cannot give a testimony like that because I was saved at a young age. But I would like to speak of two times in my life, two times I call blessings, which I could refer to more as miracles. And each one of you, especially adults, when you're a young adult like myself, as you move on, you can look back in your life and you see certain things that didn't make sense at that time, but as you look back and think about them, they begin to make a whole lot more sense. One I felt like was a very large miracle. The other one, just to look at it from up front, would seem very small, but it's equally a large miracle in my life. I can remember back in 1974 and finishing college and practice teaching at Oakland Central. And right after that, I was hired to coach and teach there. I'd always wanted to be a coach because I felt like in some way the Lord could use me to in some way maybe reach out and touch some young person. Now, the young people here today, you may not can get a grasp of this, but there are young people in this world that are starving. They're starving to see influences that are positive, that are Christian. They're starving to hear the Bible. It's unfortunate that some of them are growing up in homes where the Lord's name is never spoken other than in vain. And I think that it's important that we have teachers, and we have outstanding teachers in this county and city that do care about the Lord. But I felt like that was my goal in life, and that was what the Lord wanted me to do. 1 year after teaching, I was married. And then 1 year later, after Cheryl and I had been married only 1 year, then the start of a miracle began. And I had medical problems that developed. I won't go into what it was. It's just that there were tests had to be run. And at the end of it, the result was that I was in the hospital in Memphis for 10 days. And during those 10 days, the doctor would walk in each day after different tests, and he'd have a puzzled look on his face because he was to have already found something, and it wasn't there. So there were more tests, and there was a surgery. And he would come back in with the same puzzled look because there was nothing there. There was supposed to be something there due to the medical reason. And I can remember being very worried during that time. I can remember praying much during that time. I cannot in any way try to understand what it would be like for a person to go through something like this and not know the Lord and that the Lord exists. I remember during that time one prayer that I prayed. And that prayer was that, Lord, if you'll see me through this, and you know my strengths, you know my weaknesses, I promise that if I'm ever asked to get up and speak, I'll get up and speak. That's why I'm here today, as difficult as it might be, because I'm not a preacher. But I had to get up and speak. Now, after leaving the hospital, the next 2 or 3 years, in maybe some small group, I got the opportunity to speak, whether it was in church or something like this. And I think the Lord decided that, you're not keeping your promise quite as well as you should. So he put me to a real test. And I can remember one day in I think about 1980, a student coming up to me and saying, Coach, would you speak at the Spiritual Emphasis Week? Now, First thing popped through my mind was 700, 800, 900 students. And I thought about it. The second thing popped through my mind was a promise I'd made to the Lord. So I gave her the only answer I could possibly give her. I told her I'd think about it. And I'll see you about it tomorrow. And I went home, and that promise that I'd made, it just kept growing. The thoughts of it kept growing and growing and growing. And I had to go back and tell her the next day that I would speak. Now, Satan was getting a hold of me there for about a week or two, about like he did during this week. And he tries to throw negative thoughts into your mind. He tries to let you know you can't succeed, you can't do this. But you can with the Lord's help. The most important thing about it was when when my turn came to stand up and speak, I felt so confident because then I knew the Lord was walking with me, because he gave me my opening statements. He gave me something that was comical to settle me down. And it was so important to me. And the thing I forgot so much about the promise I'd made that I had to speak, the thing that I forgot was he made a promise to us so many, many years ago that he would always be with us. Whether we're speaking, we're walking daily in life, what we're doing, he would always be with us. I was leaving him out. It's so much easier when he is included. One other example that I want to give, and to me, that first example was a miracle. It was a miracle that I walked out of that hospital. It was a miracle that the Lord helped me get up to speak. The next is very short. It just amounts to a few words. And I can remember back when I was in high school, maybe in about the 11th grade, I believe. And this miracle came from just the statement of a young man. At that time in high school, the Lord had given me the ability to run and run a long way. And by my senior year, it led me to a state championship in a mile run. Now, that's not the point I want to make. This is not to say that to make me look good. The point was that one day, this young man, who had a reputation of weekends, he would be drunk a lot. I don't know that I saw him out that much, but anyone in school, you would hear of this young man as the life he lived on the weekends. And one day, I cannot remember why we were talking, because we did not have that much in common. Not that I disliked the young man. He had an outstanding personality. But I can remember us on campus, right behind the school one day up here at Corinth, and just in passing, he made the statement. He said, "There's no way that you can run as far as you do or like you do and drink." Now that was shocking to begin with. Now this was the least likely person that I felt like I would ever have influenced in my life. Then he made one more statement, and that's all I remember. I remember him walking away. He said, "I wish I could be more like you." Now, understand, I'm not saying that to make me look good, because the thing about this is, it wasn't what I had ever done for that young man. I made a mistake that day because he walked away and I never told him about the Lord. But you know what the Lord did? The Lord sent that young man to me to make those statements, because up to that point I'd never drank. And I never from that point felt like I had to. You see, young people, understand that God is working through you in such a way you may not understand. You are witnessing to people, you are influencing other people that you think never pay any attention to you. And what this told me was that I did not have to go out and drink and do what this young man was doing for him to respect me. I thought, in getting up to speak today, I wanted to speak to everyone, but young people have a special interest in my life. And I thought all week of one statement that I could make that would be earth-shaking, that would make an outstanding difference in your life. And it's going to come in the form of an apology because I couldn't find it. I cannot come up with that statement. All I can tell you is this, that as a young person in high school, life will become more difficult in college. There's no middle of the road in college. It will bring out the best in you or to bring out the worst, because so many people leave home and they leave their parents and they have a tendency to go wild. And I don't know that they have them as much now, but I had the opportunity in 1970 to stay one semester in a freshman dorm. There's nothing like it in the world. And those young people were wild. They went wild because all of a sudden they were making their decisions. College will bring out the best of the worst in you. But you're not in college yet. Some of you, you're still in high school, and you got people that's looking at you, and they're looking at you daily. And your life is the only Bible they're going to see. And all I can say to you is this: walk daily with the Lord. Take Him in your heart. Now, I'm not perfect, and as human beings, we will not be perfect. We will make mistakes. But as you walk with the Lord in your heart, each day you do that, it becomes easier. And it becomes habit, and it becomes a Christian habit. And that's as strong a statement as I can make to you. I wish there was an earth-shattering statement I could come up with, but there's not one. And that applies to adults as well. Adults, you do not, once you finish college, you do not stop influencing other people. You still are a Christian, and you still have to represent the Lord in your life. He would have you to. I want to say this in closing. As a coach, anytime you speak in the situation Brother Randy spoke about a while ago in devotionals that he has come to for our football team, anytime you speak to a group of young men, and we're not speaking about winning a football game or doing your best at this, that. We're talking about things in life that really matters, things that are concerned with morals and things that are concerned with how the Lord will serve you in your life if you will accept His Son as your Savior and serve Him. He never turns His back on you. And it's most important when you talk about those important things. I love to see those young players' eyes looking at me, because when the eyes are looking, either of two things are happening. One, they're listening to you, or the other is they're being polite and they want to make you think that they're listening to you. And today, you have been a wonderful group to speak in front of. And I don't know that anything that I've said can be worth anything to anybody in here, but this did not go without a blessing taking place, because throughout this week, this has made me take a good look at my life. You cannot get up here and speak without taking a very good look at your life. I've had to humble myself. And the opportunity to get up here and speak has definitely been a sincere blessing to me, and you've been a wonderful group to speak to. Thank you.
Amen.